Hello and welcome back to the Red and White podcast. Today to preview Saturday's fixture against Wimbledon, we have SAFC Fan TV editor and panelist Conrad Lee. Conrad, thanks a lot for coming on. How are you?
No worries, mate. Yeah, good. Just tired. So I think I said before, just go easy on us for the bit.
I was hoping we'd have another moment like we did in the live show. That was I can
try.
Been a good one to clip up. And from Wimbledon, as we had last month, Michael. Michael, how are you, mate? Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, not so bad, Jack. Thanks for having me back on, mate. Hope you're well. Nice to meet you as well, Conrad. Hope you guys are all right.
Nice to meet you too, man.
We'll start with Wimbledon. Obviously, I know you had a good result last night, a win in the EFL Trophy, as we did as well, into the next round against Bristol Rovers. But I was looking at before that. I think out of your last 5 games, your only point has been against us. So since you played us, I mean, I know you won last night, but you've had a few disappointing results. I mean, what's been going wrong?
Yeah, I mean, when we spoke last time, just before the game on the 15th of December at the Stadium of Light, we were on that run of, as we were discussing with Gilesy, the no points, 9 goals conceded in the 2 previous games. We got the point, obviously, against you guys. Again, there was the whole thing about the COVID, should the game have taken place. But we still did reasonably well. I think you still dominated the game for large spells. So I don't know whether you balance it out from that respect. But then, of course, you've had the little hiatus again with the next 3 games were postponed. Obviously, you played one of them since then. And obviously, you've had Hull. You had the draw with Hull Saturday, 0-0 at Northampton, obviously, the week before that. Yeah, I mean, since we played it yourselves, I mean, we've had a bit of, obviously, the COVID problems as well. The following Saturday after we played yourselves, we lost in the last minute to Crewe at home, having equalised about 60 seconds earlier. Really managed to battle back and looked like we were going to get something. So we lost that one. Oxford United Boxing Day, again, lost to 2-0. 2 bit slack defending for both goals in the opening half an hour or so. Came back much more strongly in the second half. Forced a number of saves from their keeper. He was named man of the match. But obviously, when you're 2-0 down, especially Oxford, a historically tough venue for us, it was always going to, leave us up against it. And then it was an individual defensive error, which meant that as Lincoln came to ours on the 2nd of January and got the winner 7 minutes from time for a 2-1 win. Took the lead early. We fought back. Looked like we were holding our own. Looked like a draw was going to be the fairest outcome. And then Tom Hopper, I think it was, just capitalised on a ball played in, and it was just a really scuffed clearance. And then that left them with the sort of relatively easy finish for the victory. But then last night, with the victory at Bristol Rovers, that's a historically tough venue for us as well. But something we did last night was we reverted to a kind of a back 4, whereas since as long as I can remember, we've been playing like a back 3 with the 2 wing backs, and it just made us look more defensively robust, a bit more confident, allowed more scope as well to sort of get forward and attack a bit more, and we look better at both ends of the field. So hopefully we'll take that forward, going, because the fans can see exactly what the best formation should be, and again, so hopefully carry that forward for again what's going to be a Saturday, Tuesday, same as you guys, for the next few weeks. So it's going to be a vital time.
Yeah. So do you think last night could have been a bit of a turning point, possibly?
Yeah, I mean, that's what's generally being discussed, Jack, in all the sort of socials. Again, the fans have been kind of trumpeting the kind of 4 at the back formation, particularly in the midst of this bad run. 1 point from the last that we've got in the league, and Rochdale getting that point last night, even though they were pegged back from 4-2 up at half time to draw 4-4. That's still taking us down now into the relegation zone. So I think, again, the formation last night will hopefully point the direction, because I'm sure you guys have seen it also. You guys are hollering from the seats at times and, tell the manager to do this, do that. This is how you should play. This is your formation. And sometimes, even though he's the manager and should be therefore more qualified than the fans, it takes sometimes a while to sort of filter through. So hopefully that'll be something you can carry on and hold on to over the next kind of a few weeks. So, yeah, it's a historically tough venue for us. Bristol Rovers only won twice there, like in the last 40 years. And although they may have played slightly a reserve side, they did come on quite strong later on. They made a number of substitutions and they could have grabbed an equaliser, had a couple of chances. But yeah, turning point hopefully is where we're looking at from this moment on, hopefully.
Your manager, Glenn Hodges, obviously we're mentioning beforehand that you've won an awful run really before last night. Do you think his days could be numbered?
Well, it's the strange. I don't personally think they will be, because I think there's enough quality in the squad to turn it around. We've had a few injuries as well. We've replaced the keeper who we had when we played yourselves, Connell Truman. He's gone back to Birmingham, and we've signed 6'6" Sam Walker, who's come to us from Reading. last night as well. Had a clean sheet as well, and then again, which bodes well. Again, linking up with these new sort of colleagues, but they're amongst some of the more, shall we say, cyber kind of keyboard warriors and people who sort of type before they think, and usually in the immediate aftermath of maybe losing a game. There's obviously cries of disappointment, generally speaking, which of course I think goes for everybody, but then some people take that further into the kind of knee-jerk, Hodges out type of nonsense. There have been those type of murmurings, but hopefully last night would have gone some way towards quelling those. You're still getting the odd people saying, oh, well, it was only a reserve Bristol Rovers side in the Mickey Mouse Cup, but nevertheless, I mean, we've still got it's still a very lucrative, we still earned 40 grand from the victory like you guys last night. So again, I think people just need a bit more patient and again, just give us, because it's still over half of the league campaign remaining. So I think it would be foolish at this point to do anything along those lines.
Yeah, Joe Pickett, obviously your main player. I think it's fair to say target man up front. I believe he's the third highest goal scorer in the league. Off the top of my head, I think is it 10 goals and 4 assists he's got.
Yeah, I think it's 12 in all competitions, and then he's got a similar number of sort of assists as well. Yeah, so obviously he's been someone that's been obviously the main striking focal point this season, which has obviously attracted various kind of speculation. We've had all sorts of things. He's off to Swansea, he's off to Reading, he's off to Sunderland was even a name that was mentioned as well as a possible transfer target. But he's still with us just at the moment.
Might need him.
Yeah, he's well, absolutely, and of course, by the law of averages, a club, with the sides of, Sunderland, with the fan base, with the history, the heritage, the potential, obviously, to, get themselves, promoted this season. That you could understand why any player would perhaps have their head turned by. But for the time being, he's still down in sort of South London, and still leading the fight and coming up with all types of goals as well. He's scored headers. He probably puts the penalties away from us. Scores from like the edge of the box as well. He's scored all types of goals, which I think is probably something that would ultimately enhance his transfer value.
Yeah. Just two last questions before we go. I'll ask you one now. Obviously, he's just sat just above the relegation zone. Obviously, you're doing well in the Papa John's trophy. Are you confident that you'll stay up?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, it's still very sort of early days. So we've had some injuries. There's vital kind of defenders that are coming back as well. The likes of Luke O'Neill, who travelled yesterday, I think with the party, just to get back in the kind of the match day sort of routine, if you like, having been injured for a while. Again, we're out of obviously the first two cup competitions. The Papa John's, I think, it's sort of a bit of a confidence booster perhaps as well.
That's what I think as well. Yeah.
Again, similar to yourselves as well, and it is a Wembley appearance for the players at the end of it as well, and of course up to a total of £500,000 in prize money if you go on to actually win the thing. I think it breaks down as, but no, I think we'll be okay. We've still got just 26 league games still to go. Obviously, we've got to cram those into the next 4 months. As we've said, it's Saturday, Tuesday. It's going to be a hectic time. But again, I don't see why we've got no worse chance than any other teams immediately around us. We've still got to play Rochdale, who leapfrogged us to send us down into the bottom four last night. We've still got to go to welcome Swindon has still got to come to us. Burton has still got to come to us. Those who shan't be mentioned come to us 2 weeks after we play yourselves. But we've also got the big games coming up. Yourselves Saturday. We've got Ipswich on the horizon as well. We've got a trip to Portsmouth next Tuesday. But sometimes it's the adverse circumstances that bring out the best in Wimbledon. That's been shown historically over a number of years. So, I mean, there's so much more football still to be played. And, I'm still very, very confident that we'll at least work ourselves up to a finish of safety.
Great. Well, before you go, pretty easy question. A prediction for the game?
Well, I mean, we were unlucky not to get a draw against Lincoln. Shows we can mix it sort of with the big boys in the sort of the higher positions. Obviously, you went and stuffed Lincoln, didn't you? Sort of about a month ago.
Enjoyable on that
place. Yeah, obviously you've had your COVID since then. You've only played 2 league games since then. We've had our COVID as well. I mean, we were unlucky. We've shown what we can do against the bigger sides and the more with the bigger resources. I don't think there's a reason. I'm going to go for sort of 1-1, same as the one at the Stadium of Light there, Joe. 1-1 draw. I don't see, maybe we could
special.
nick it, but I think most likely, it'll be an even game. I think we'll hopefully learn the defensive lessons from the Lincoln match on the 2nd of January. You've run into not only played twice, obviously in the league in the last month, but obviously you've become sort of like the draw specialist as well.
Yeah, 1-1. It's our standard result, really.
Well, there you go, and just the way things are panned out. Obviously, I mean, there's loads of clubs who are under that sort of situation at the moment. Wouldn't surprise me if we're supposed to have an FA Youth Cup tie this evening. That was called off because the FA have suspended the FA Youth Cup. The bottom 2 divisions in Scotland have been suspended. The virus doesn't discriminate. The virus doesn't turn up at Celtic and say, "Oh, sorry, you're Celtic. We'll go and infect our Grove or Albion Rovers or whatever." So it wouldn't surprise me if we have a suspension of the game. The more this carries on, maybe in the next kind of couple of weeks. But we'll obviously see what happens, Zach.
So a 1-1 you go with, just to clarify.
I'll go for a 1-1. Yeah, definitely.
I think part of us would rather get beat than draw 1-1. I'm just something different. I'm sick of saying it.
Yeah, just it's a chain.
Yeah, because obviously a draw wouldn't do much good for either side. Obviously, both sides will be going for the victory. But I just see a similar scenario to when we came to you guys. You kind of dominated. We, defended quite well, tried to attack. I think parking the bus, I think as Giles he said, was probably a little bit inaccurate because when we did try and attack, we actually had the best chances then in the first half and throughout the game. We could easily have nicked it, hit the crossbar. So I think it was a case that rather than coming for a point, I think we came not to lose, which is obviously 1 or 3 points. So there's a sort of a difference between the two. So I just see them, it's maybe similar to on the 15th of December, maybe cancelling each other out a little bit, maybe particularly in midfield. Obviously, we'll try and assert our attacking play a little bit earlier than it kicked in that previous meeting this season.
Yeah.
But I think Sunderland will still be kind of, given the league position, they're still very much in the mix for better things at the end of the season. I just see a lot of kind of cancelling out, and I'm going to say I'm going for a 1-1, but I'm not ruling out the possibility that either side could maybe nick it. But I think most likely it's probably going to maybe finish all square.
I think it's quite a high possibility anyway. Mikey, thanks a lot for coming on. You're free to go.
No worries, Jack. Thanks for that. Nice to see you soon, comrade. After this Saturday, enjoy the rest of the season. And,
best of luck, mate. Aside from when you play us, best of luck.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you maybe in the quarterfinals as well of the Papa John's on.
Maybe in the final.
Well, who knows? Yeah, absolutely. I'll get you a bag of chips at Wembley, mate.
If we're allowed.
Have to throw them from distance, though.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I think, guys.
Yeah. See you later, mate.
Cheers, man.
Take care. All the best. Take care of yourself. All the best.
Yeah. Right, Conrad. Last night, obviously played Port Vale in Papa John's Trophy. A great result, 2-0 win. I think it was quite a good performance. There was a few standout players, which I'm sure we'll get onto. Are you at all a little bit apprehensive to sing our praises that it was a team in League Two, or do you not think that makes much of a difference?
I said yesterday on the review that we did, cup competition, it doesn't matter who you play, as long as your name's in the hat round, you've obviously done enough to get into it. Definitely. I only really think a performance matters when you're talking about trying to build runs up in a league, because even then these games, they've got so many weeks in between them. You can't build no one ever talks about, I need to have a good run of results in the FA Cup. It's like, well, you've got like a month between your first 2 fixtures before you get to the next one, and you could have lost your best striker by then. You could have had an injury. You could have bought someone new in. They could have had this, that, the other. So, it's one of that. I don't want to go overboard. It's not like the greatest result of all time, but we win. We're in the next round. What more do people want?
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, it's important about adding as much of a quality difference between League Two and League One. I mean, since we've been relegated here, you look at some of the teams that have went up have came straight up. Lincoln are challenging at the top there in League Two not long ago. Wickham had a season and then they went up. As much as that's a bit of a controversial topic, isn't it? Wickham's promotion. Luton obviously went up straight away, and I don't think there's many teams that tend to go down. So I don't think there's much of a quality difference between the two, really. Quite a few standout players for me. Was there anyone in particular who you think got a game last night, did well, who you think itching to get in?
Yeah, and I think, I don't know if we spoke about the Thursday last week there, but it was Embleton. Like, I remember, I think I was saying, like, I don't see what he does, and I don't get the hype. Like, I know he's played in League Two before, but like, I sort of was just, oh, he's here. He has to make his appearance.
Yes, of course, the kind of man.
But last night he was the best player on the park for us. Really, I thought he absolutely ran the show. I thought Dan Neil was good in the first half. I think we did lose a little something when he went off. You couldn't quite tell what was lacking until Sean actually noticed at one point that he had gone off, because he kept going, "There's no subs, and the chat. Look, Ledbetter's on. There's been a change, but." Yeah, everyone had a pretty good game. I thought Power did well again at right back. I mean, albeit, like you said, he's playing League Two opposition, but still, you can only beat what's put in front of you. And I don't remember them really having anything down that left-hand side for them. And then our right, he did well. He overlapped, put some good crosses in for us. But yeah, it was Embleton. I think that was his standout performance so far. And probably him sort of going, well, look, if Power's back there, I'm free for this bit here.
Yeah, one thing I've been writing about recently a little bit is how I think what the formation we play, obviously with a big 4-3-3 with Ledbetter just holding back. I don't know if that got changed last night to 4-4-2. I couldn't really tell, but a lot of fans are saying that they thought it was 4-4-2. But I think one of our main problems been since Lee Johnson's came in is obviously we're still struggling to score goals, and I think I've pinpointed that. When you're playing 4-3-3, you need either the wide forwards being predominantly McGeady and Diamond to come inside, or you need the centre midfielders to push up just behind the striker to prevent them being isolated, because it's essentially one striker as much as it is a front three. If the two wide lads stay out wide, then you've only got one player in the box. I think you can get quite isolated. But one thing I feel as if I felt is we're not really playing the right centre midfielders for that system, where obviously Ledbetter's job's to stick back anyway. I think Scowen's a lot more suited to defending than he is going forward. I think it's a fair assumption. He's done well the last few games. I'll give him his credit, but I think when he goes into the final third, he just looks like a headless chicken, and his deliveries tend to be really wayward, I think. And then Max Power, as much as I think sometimes Sean does slightly overreact, I do think, especially when he's playing centre midfield, he doesn't offer us a great deal, and I don't think he does the most to get teams on the back foot. So I would quite like to see Max Power given a run at right back, because he clearly has got some quality about him. If you look at his time before us, and even when he's playing for us, you can still tell he's got ability. So I would definitely like to see him given a shot at right back, 100%.
Definitely, I think it's this weird thing of, I think we all criticise Power more because we remember him for the first few games where he was here, and we were just like when we got him, we were just like, this lad that we've just got, he's just scored a header on his debut and he's pinged one in against Gillingham, and then it was the red cards that sort of seemed to sort of change him a little bit on there. He had that awful one against Oxford where he literally just tripped the lad over, and it was a straight red card in the centre circle. It's a tactical foul. Why are you giving a red card for a tactical foul? And then there was Walsall, which was obviously rescinded, and then there was Bradford, I think, he kicked out at someone, and they gave a penalty off the ball, and it's like, the ball's not even in the box. You can't give I still don't understand it myself there, but we won. He sort of seemed to, ever since that moment, he seemed to sort of change his game a little bit on there, and he did every now and again score a good goal and go forward, like MK Dons at home, Sheffield United away in the cup last season. Yeah, it was last season. So he clearly still had it, but I think he was a bit like, I don't know, it's not like headless chicken, but he wasn't as sort of like, I'm just going to run into people and run through them. He was a bit more sort of calm, calculated, wasn't he? And that might be better for him at right back, because he's got a smaller sort of patch to operate on there. He's got somebody next to him. He's got someone who can overlap with, so he knows his job going forward. There's not this sort of like, right, you're the attacking midfielder of these three. You need to just link everything from right or left.
Less pressure,
and everything.
Isn't it?
It's like, this is your channel here. You just overlap him. You help him out. You help this guy out. That's it. And stop him. That's the one. So it's worth trying. I mean, I'd still like, I think we agreed the other night, Sanderson and McLaughlin are still our two main right backs on there. But even then,
you said it.
Huh? Well,
just when we were talking about Luke going in the midfield, I think you and Michael just leave it right back.
Well, now that Power's there and he's had two good games, I mean, don't get me wrong, two good games doesn't mean he's going to play well every game, of course, in there. But while he's putting it in there, then let's give it a go now. If he was fit, I'd probably say, because we're still looking for a midfielder. Yes, we've got Winchester and Embleton. Why not? This is now the opportunity where we can't, because I don't feel like it'd be a risk now to go, even though I know Power, Scowen, and Ledbetter aren't the best, they're probably the best out of the three that we sort of had at that moment in sort of situations without sort of like adjusting everyone to sort of fit in. That was really the best we sort of had.
Probably.
And then you sort of go, right, well, now that you're out of this, right, let's try them. Let's give these three lads a go and get them in there as well. And hopefully that can even sort of maybe bring in Dan Neil on the bench and play a comes that Terry will be absolutely buzzing with as well. But yeah, I think I sort of agree with you now. Like, I know we were going back and forth before, but yeah, well, it just makes sense to just be like, well, this is the time to give him that go really on there. I still think I haven't seen enough of him there to think he's going to be the savior of our midfield or anything like that. But if there was ever a time to play him in it and go, there's your chance, it's now really.
Yeah, I think 09, the reason why I want to see him in the midfield is I think what we lack in midfield is a little bit of energy and someone going forward, someone who can actually contribute in the final third. And I didn't see that with any of the other three, but I think we've seen time and time again that Luke 09 in and around the box is quality, his delivery, his ability to pop up in the box and get a goal. He's got so much energy. You look at some of his goals at Wickham. To me, that's exactly what we need in our team. And with Embleton's performance last night, I think if Embleton can replicate that, because I think that to me that's probably the first time I've seen him and thought, wow, we had a great game there. He's always definitely been a little bit quiet for me, but to me it was his agility last night. They didn't look as if they could get near him. So I think
quick turns in that, wasn't it, just away from people.
Yeah, either of them to come in, and then if you want to drop Power into right back and give him a go then and see how he does it, and maybe that's the way we'll get the most out of Max Power.
And it's that thing of, I know people say, well, he's your captain, you can't drop him. I don't get that. I don't buy that rule at all. It's like, if he's not good enough, like, your captain doesn't have to be undroppable, and that sort of should give a bit more pressure to him to be like, you're not just in that team because you've got an armband on and you're good at going, come on lads, like, this is what we need. Like, he doesn't need to be in every game. It'd be the same with Bailey Wright. If he was captain, but I thought he was having a shocker and I thought Willis and Flanagan would do a better job, I would say, well, he needs to spell out. Like, sometimes players need that little bit of like a setback or a knockback just to be like, actually, yeah, maybe I wasn't playing at my best, or maybe I was taking it for granted and just sort of coasting through games. And it's just to kick up the arse, really, isn't it? Because no one should be undroppable from a team. If you're not playing to the best of your ability, just because you're a good leader, which I don't even think he's the best leader we have out there.
No,
that shouldn't be the reason you're picked. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a player that springs to mind for me is Chris Maguire. He always seems to drop off on form, but then he gets taken out of the team, he comes back in, and his form picks up. I'm trying to think of other players in recent years. I guess you could even say Alam Ozturk. You know, he wasn't playing the best. He got taken out for ages, got brought back in towards the end of the season, and then he played out of his skin for a little while.
Well, in that first season, it was just bizarre. He played the first game against Charlton was Leuven's and Ozturk, and we did look shaky. We fully did. But then he made that mistake against Sheffield Wednesday, and he was just dropped and just gone, and just didn't play again until like April, and everyone went, why the hell haven't we been playing this lad? Like, he's absolutely he's quality, and well, he couldn't do enough to save us really in that bit. But then you sort of start to go, God, if he'd have played in other games instead of maybe Baldwin or Flanagan, would we have maybe got that 1-1 and it'd have been a win, or would this mistake have necessarily happened if that had been there? But you know.
Yeah. Well, we'll not get too deep into Ozturk. It was just a player that sprung to mind when we were talking about that.
It was a good example.
Yeah. For me, another player that stood out last night was Aidan O'Brien, a player who was faced quite a lot of criticism since he's come to the club. I think a lot of fans have just said he doesn't really contribute. I think he's too slow. For me, I always reserve judgment, and I didn't really want to say which we are still with either or, because I don't think he'd been given a great opportunity really. At all so far this season. He's had games, he's had appearances, he's had plenty of minutes, but I think you've got to remember as well, he came into what's a little bit of a peculiar system to get used to with the 3-4-3 or the 3-5-2, and that could have played an impact. I look at his career, and he's spent a lot of time in the Championship, and I think he spent time in Millwall, and he's got plenty of goals. And Millwall fans have said he's a real good finisher. So I always thought, as much as I wasn't screaming to play him all the time, I wasn't kind of calling for his head and saying we need to get rid of him. But obviously last night I thought he took his goal very well. I think it was on his weak foot. There was a player in between him and the goalkeeper. It was a little bit of an angle, but I think he took his goal really well. Along with that, I think his overall game was quite good. A few nice touches and a few other things that maybe didn't quite get noticed. But yeah, I thought Aidan O'Brien was fantastic. Would you maybe look to bring him in if Wyke doesn't start hitting the ground running?
I think he's definitely the second striker now, because Danny Graham, for me, I know he's only had a couple 100%. Of appearances himself, but he's just not got it. You can just tell. Do you know what I mean? We followed Sunderland long enough. You know when someone's out there and you just think he's not going to do this. Because I'm trying to think of one example of a player where we've all categorically gone, he's not got it, and then he's proved us all wrong. Like, there's been players who've scored a couple of goals and done stuff here, but like Connor Wickham maybe is one example where everyone went, he's not got it, and then he had that spell where he kept us up, and then the next 2 seasons he went back to doing nouts again. Like, so it was just sort of like not a lucky bounce, but it was just that thing of like he had his moment, and I still think it was just because no team bothered scouting him, because he just came back in out of nowhere and everyone went, who's this lad? And then he scored. And then when they actually started doing their research on him, nothing happened. He didn't do now. So yeah, I think he's number 2. I thought he was left-footed, so I thought it was his stronger.
Few people have said that, but I thought he was right-footed. But regardless, I think it was a good finish.
Yeah, either or, it was a tidy finish. Like, and it was actually nice to see almost just a ball through the middle.
Yes,
I know it was slightly off to one side, but just one pass straight through and just a finish into the far corner. I thought when we first bought him, he was bought to be McGeady's replacement on that sort of like left-hand side of the front three, and it was going to be like Wyke O'Brien out there. But he's always seemed to play as like the second striker. So he was up with Grigg at the start, and then he's always also been like off of whoever's playing, if you know what I mean, like in the number 10. It's a bit of a weird one that I think he's never actually played in where I thought his best position. I mean, granted, I don't know him that well, so I don't know his best position on there, but I always thought he was a left forward. So he would be like you were saying before, like as part of a front three, he would be the left side of that, but he could also get in the box and sort of be another striker. But they seem to want to play him as a striker, and it was a bit like, it just didn't look right. Number 10 didn't quite look right, but he was running about. Like, the first half, I noticed it more. He was all across their sort of like back line, just sort of linking things up with us all, and it was all really good play. I think he worked well with Gooch, because Gooch in the number 10 for the last 2 games when he's played has been a handful. Because I know he probably should have scored in not the last game, the one before. What was it? The last game? What was the last one we played at home? Hull. When he came on at half-time, Gooch, I thought we looked a lot better when we had Gooch up top 100%. With Wyke. We looked a lot better having 2 up top, even though Wyke didn't get his chance, but it just looked like we had a lot more energy and a lot more like something might happen instead of now it's happening here, lads.
Yeah, definitely. As you said, I think he's definitely now at least the second option. I think Wyke's got a little bit of a bad rap this season. I was looking at the statistics and I was having a look in particular at our average shots on target. Now, I know that's a little bit of an odd thing to look at maybe, but I was writing something earlier.
2?
You what?
Is it 1, 2?
No, over the last 2 games, it's been around 3.5 shots on target. Our last 2 games have had 3 shots on target. The one before it was 4. And I was comparing that to other teams. I believe it was Lincoln have had 5.3 shots on target their average last game. So, I was looking at most of the teams in the top 6, and every single team in the top 6 seemed to have a common theme of about 10% less possession, but about 3 or 4 more shots on target every game. And I thought, well, hang on. Wyke's managed to get 10 goals in all competitions, 5 in the league, I believe. I think he's possibly our top scorer, or he's up there at the very least.
He is, he is.
Like, can you really put the blame onto Wyke when you look at those statistics? So I think Wyke's got a bit of a bad rap, but I think if his form was to drop off, because we know he's not the best anyway, I think O'Brien's definitely a good option to come in from 100%.
Yeah, funny you say this, because just while Michael was on, I was looking at the top scorers thing for us on there, and you're right, Wyke is number 1 with 7 in the league for us, only no assists, but he averages a goal every 177 minutes, they're saying here, so 1 in 2 basically for that.
I think it's good enough.
If I'm doing quick maths there.
Yeah,
which is good enough, but it's because it's because we almost know it's not a false statistic, but it's because we know he's not really a 1 in 2. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not been that consistent level. He got a few of them in quite a quick flurry between like October and November, didn't he? And then he's got obviously 2 against Lincoln when we came in there. And maybe if we hadn't had COVID, he might have got a couple over the Christmas period as well. But he's never really fit in to the system, and the system that we play has also never really fit him. So I think we were saying the other night, like, the 3 midfielders don't link any part of our forward team, and he's a striker who you can tell relies off people giving him service.
Definitely. Yeah,
and he doesn't link with them. So then we're stuck with 4 players who just do not link together at all. And he, like, if we gave him the chances, he clearly knows where the net is. I'm not saying he's going to ping them in from like 30 yards, or he should have scored last night though. He had a free header from a great cross by McGeady, and he should have scored. Even then, there was one little bit later where he was like trying to twinkle toes it round to defenders instead of just putting his foot through it and thinking, I'll have a shot. When it's 6 yards out, let's just have a go, you know. It's always been the case in League One. Apart from when Madger left, our forward-thinking players never to really all be on the same page as each other. They would get goals every now and again, but they just wouldn't. There was always something you were like, they're not quite just there with each other, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's been common this season. I really see it. As soon as Madger left, it was the straw that brought the camel's back.
Well done.
And,
you got it.
And I think this season it's been a problem with the since Lee Johnson came in. It's been a problem with the formation where the centre mids, they just haven't been able to link up with the forward line effectively enough, because I think we're playing what is essentially 3 quite defensive players, where I think Power is more offensive than defensive, but the offense that he does do, he tends to sit back a little bit and hold off, and he doesn't quite get into the final third as much. And I think we need someone who can maybe burst into the final third a little bit more. We are running a little bit out of time, so we'll make it quite quickly this one. But obviously Winchester signed. I believe he's come in to be more of a defensive player, not necessarily someone to be bursting forward into the final third. A lot of people have been saying that Ledbetter slows the game down, etc. Now, I think Ledbetter's been quite decent so far this season. He's been one of our better players. But going into Saturday, for you, if Winchester's been training well, does he come straight in for Ledbetter or straight in for anyone else for that matter?
I wouldn't have thought this Saturday. I'd think probably still start with Ledbetter, and then you take him off a bit later on and maybe bring Winchester in and then sort of go from there. I'll be interested to see him, because I'll fully admit I've never really heard or seen of him until it was obviously linked with him there. I'm not one of these people where you go, what do you think of this French defender, you know? And it's like, yes, I've followed his career for many years. I have no idea who this kid was until people started doing Shaun of the Dead references. But I'm hopeful. Obviously, I like to think we've done our research, or Johnson has. Just quickly, I know we've got the thingy on there. It was interesting to think the only thing that Lee Johnson hasn't changed in this team from Parkinson is the 3 midfielders. So that'll be the interesting sort of thing going forward, I guess.
Yeah, that is quite interesting how he's kept that, and that's something that Parkinson liked to stick with. Myself, I would keep Ledbetter in the team. I don't think there's any reason to drop him, but going forward, I mean, obviously we've brought him in, and he does seem quite promising. So, you know, you would think he's coming at the team. Anyway, just to wrap things up, obviously, might you give the prediction of 1-1? I sure do hope you are predicting 1-1. What's your prediction, Conrad?
Matt, I'm thinking it, but I'm just going to go, we'll nick it 2-1, just like when Catmull got a brace a couple of years back.
I think we're going to keep a clean sheet, but I can't see us scoring roads, so I'm going to go for a 1-0 win.
Lovely. I'll take it.
Yeah. Conrad, thanks a lot for coming on. Obviously, we are running out of time, but I will leave the link to Conrad, but to SFC Fan TV, the channel that Conrad is on, in the description. I have mentioned as well on my Twitter that there'll be no review show now to the end of the season, just because of the increased fixtures. I don't want to be putting out 40-minute shows every week. I can't say a lot of people wanting to sit through that as well as all the other Sunderland fan content on YouTube. But thanks for listening or watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next game.